In the year 1274, the Mongol Empire turns its focus towards conquering Japan. Their first step is the small island of Tsushima, the lone shield of the mainland. On a misty Komoda beach, 80 samurai prepare to face thousands of invaders. Among them is Jin Sakai, a young but skilled warrior of the Sakai clan. At his side is his uncle Lord Shimura, the Jito of Tsushima and Jin's mentor. The samurai make a bold charge to meet the Mongol forces head-on, but the Mongols do not fight with honor. Explosive barrels, fire arrows, and ambushes tear the samurai apart. Jin watches helplessly as his comrades are slaughtered. Lord Shimura is captured by Khotun Khan, the cunning Mongol leader. Jin himself is thrown from a bridge, presumed dead and left to die on the battlefield. He awakens to the face of a stranger, Yuna, a skilled thief and warrior. She saves him, but only on the promise that he will help her brother Taka. With the Mongols swarming the island, Jin's only goal is to rescue Lord Shimura. But with the samurai army gone, he will need help. Jin begins to travel the island, recruiting allies. One of the first happens to be Lady Masako Adachi, who seeks revenge for her murdered family. He also meets Ishikawa, the island's greatest archer, who is hunting his missing student Tomoe. Tomoe has betrayed him and now trains Mongols in the art of archery. Finally, there's Ryuzo, Jin's childhood friend and leader of the Straw Hat Ronin. Once a samurai, Ryuzo and his men now survive as mercenaries. Together, these allies form the foundation of Jin's plan to rescue his uncle. But along the way, Jin begins to realize that honor alone will not win this war. The Mongols fight with deception and fear, and Jin decides to do so himself. Guided by Yuna, Jin begins using stealth, assassinating Mongols from the shadows. He strikes silently, vanishes in smoke, and spreads fear across enemy camps. It doesn't take long for him to become infamous, as the first people begin to call him the Ghost of Tsushima. With Taka's help, Jin secures the explosive needed for the first major goal to storm Castle Kaneda and rescue Lord Shimura. Jin and his allies decide to put their plan into action during the night to utilize the element of surprise. When they approach the fortress, chaos begins to break out as Jin cuts down Mongol after Mongol until he reaches his uncle's cell. The rescue is a success, but the Khan manages to escape to the north. Reunited with Shimura, Jin struggles to feel relief because his uncle disapproves of the ghost's dishonorable tactics. On the other hand, the people are beginning to be inspired by the new legend, and the Mongols are more and more afraid. With Castle Kaneda secured, the next step is retaking Castle Shimura. But the Mongols' armies in the central region of the island will be even more difficult to overcome. But before that, Jin's allies need to continue their personal battles. Lady Masako uncovers a conspiracy of betrayal within her own family. Sensei Ishikawa finally confronts Tomoe, who escapes to the mainland. War spreads further and further across the island, and Jin walks an increasingly lonely path. On top of that, Taka is captured by Khotun Khan. In a brutal display of power, the Khan executes Taka in front of Jin and Juna. But instead of being broken by the sight of one of his closest allies dying in front of his eyes, he feels strengthened in his cause. To break the Mongols' grip on Castle Shimura, Jin turns to a forbidden tactic. He poisons their supplies, silently killing entire squads without lifting a sword. The poison works and the Mongols panic, but it horrifies Lord Shimura as well. The samurai code forbids such methods, and Jin crossed the line. Exiled, the ghost moves to the frozen north of Kamiyagata. Jin fights a one-man guerrilla war, dismantling the Mongols piece by piece. He frees prisoners, destroys ships, and unites the survivors of the invasion. As Jin's legend grows, so does the Mongols' desperation. Khotun Khan prepares his final plan, to sail for the mainland with a massive fleet. If he succeeds, Japan itself might fall into his hands. Jin gathers his last allies for one final attack. The battle for Tsushima reaches its climax at Port Izumi. Once again, chaos breaks out as the Mongols are fighting with the ghost and his allies. Finally, Jin faces Khotun Khan on one of his ships, where, after a long boss fight, Jin emerges victorious, ending the Khan's life. The Mongols are defeated and Tsushima is free again. But despite his victory, Jin Sakai's personal struggles don't come to an end. Which is because the shogun fears the ghost's influence. Lord Shimura is ordered to execute his nephew that he raised as his son. Jin must face his uncle one last time, at the quiet, solemn shores of Omi Lake. And even though this might not be a happy ending type of situation, this part where the two write a haiku with tears in their eyes is probably one of my favorite gaming moments in recent years. Anyway, Jin wins the duel and now has to decide if he takes his uncle's life, following the samurai code, or lets him live with the shame. But no matter what you choose, Jin Sakai leaves his family and the life of a samurai behind forever.